is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, back again. One half of that dynamic duo that's Let's Talk Football. And it is Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday morning. Ooh, ooh. And I'm here with my guys. You see this guy with me. You see this guy with me. 1,960 days since the last time Ohio State beat his guys, the Maize and Blue 2023 national champions.
Yep.
2024. Yep. Yeah, 23, 324. National champs. My guy, Alex Luzman. What up, Alex?
Not too much, man. Really excited to get into it. Some major news came out this morning. We got spring games happening today. Next week,
Mhm.
some already happened. This is a great time to talk some college football.
Absolutely, absolutely. So excited and so excited. And as you see, my guy down there standing in front of oh, touchdown Jesus, you know him, the leprechaun himself, EK Holiday. What up, Eric?
What up, Sean? How come I don't get no 1989 national champions introduction? Where,
It's been
where
a
is the?
while.
Jeez, man.
Sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I got, I got, I got practice today. I'm
Yep.
excited.
Come
2 o'clock.
on.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get it. Hey, and like my guys alluded to, there are a number of spring games going on, and for those of you that are like us that love these games, hey, they'll be on there a little bit later on. And this is like the little preview to the regular season where we're gonna go on right before the game starts, so we can give you that little heads up, the little preview. But today we got a lot of stuff that we're talking about. Appreciate you guys in the comments. Nathan Snell saying what's up. Anthony Haney saying, let's go. So we got to dive into this show real quick. Hey, draft season's right around the corner. So we got to talk a little draft talk. Unfortunately, there's some breaking news. Isaiah Bond in some recent legal troubles amid some recent assault allegations that were put out not too long ago. He ended up turning himself in. And I don't necessarily want to stay too long on the actual accusations and the things of that nature, but I did want to ask a question. He was one of these guys that was very highly touted coming out. Obviously, speedster. Obviously, great athlete. But with this, I mean, this could definitely derail um, where he gets picked. Alex, I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts after hearing this, and what does this mean for him?
Yeah, well, he's kind of had a nightmare draft process. Like everything that he's done has kind of just tanked his stock a little more, a little more, a little more. Like he was a first round guy right off the bat. Then he talked all that crap about what 40 time he was going to run, missed all that, and
Hmm.
was worse and worse. And then now this comes out a couple weeks before the draft, and it's one of those things that he's going to have to talk to these teams. They're going to have to reach out to him and be like, what's going on, what happened. He's going to have to be honest with them and have those hard discussions, and teams are going to have to decide if they feel good enough to take him or not.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like you said, just a terrible draft process. It kind of stinks that it's all is coming out now. But yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
have to reassure some teams. You're going to have to reassure them that this is just the blip. This is not who you are. This is not your character and everything. But I think to your point, some of the things that he hasn't been endearing himself to some of the teams with some of the things he said, like that thing about, oh, I'm gonna have break this record. I'm gonna do that, which is cool and it's great
And then ran
if
like
you
a
want to be
4.4.
right. And then it gets to the point where you're like, really, man, really, you're gonna come out with that? So then it just looks silly that you came out and said that. So
Yeah.
oh man, and you just don't that's already something there, but you don't need this extra. Eric, man, like we all initially coming out of college, this guy was up there. This guy was a name that everybody had on their lips. Now it's all for the wrong reasons, man. What's it going to do for him?
Yeah, it's absolutely hard to say. I won't dive too much into you know whether what happened or didn't happen. Um, but the reality is the perception is now always going to be with him. Um, and not that he necessarily did it, but there's always going to be the talk about that this had occurred. Think about Ben Roethlisberger. It's
Mm-hmm.
still in my mind, um, right, wrong, indifferent, true or not. It's always something I think about when I hear about Big Ben. The uh, the interesting thing with this is go back maybe to a like slightly different case. I'm trying to think who it was. Was it Lael Collins
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah,
so I think if I remember correctly, he was a projected top 20 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And
very close to that. Yeah,
yeah, and fortunately it came out that he was not involved in what they thought he might have been. But that killed his draft stock.
he was a day
It,
3 pick after that.
yeah. Now it did work out for him in the end because he played so darn well that he got a contract earlier than most people can. But think of how much money. And there's always going to be people forever, no matter if you have 100% proof that you're innocent, they're still going to call him that guy, that helped with a murder, or you know or in this case people are going to call him someone who sexually assaulted someone, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sad situation all around, but I can't imagine that this, combined with everything you and Alex mentioned about how he was already hurting his stock, um, I mean, this makes you borderline, untouchable, at least early in the draft.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah. Oh yeah, and it's a shame. But again, this isn't the first thing he did. We all know about him coming out saying that he's gonna break these records and 40 and all these things that he's going to do. And like I said before, he was highly touted. And look, let's not act like there wasn't guys like to your point, Eric, that have been in the league that whether it came out later they didn't do it or their talent just allowed teams to overlook the fact that
James
that had been an
Winston.
incident. Right. Well, I mean, think about that. Winston, the guy that we got
Um,
this year, Laramie Tunsil, and the whole smoking
Yeah,
thing. You know what I mean?
and that
But you
came
can
out the
even
night of the draft.
right. But you can even talk about I think it was Mixon, Kareem
Joe
Hunt,
Mixon, yeah.
Tyreek Hill. All these
yep.
guys had some kind of assault, some kind of stuff in their past. But as soon as you strap it up on the field and you're able to play, teams seem to turn a blind eye to that. And that stuff's been happening way back. We talked
Oh
about
yeah.
Lawrence Phillips out of Nebraska, given chance after chance after chance, and it just continues to do this. So how the NFL and how teams address this and how they react to that is going to kind of show where they stand in all of this. Now, mind you, there's innocent until proven guilty, but it's not a good look.
He turned himself in. So
Right.
if he didn't at least one, unfortunately, it sounds like it was something they agreed upon before, and then
Yeah.
she kind of backed out, and he kept going, and then he blamed alcohol.
Hmm.
But he turned himself in. So clearly something happened,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I don't know how he actually feels about it, whether he's remorseful or what, but um, he's gonna have to make teams at ease with picking him. But there's a good chance now he went from originally being a potential first round pick to probably a day 3 pick now.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
His PR, his publicist, I'll give him credit. They had a different way of combating it than I've seen a lot of these accusations lately. It was like um, and I'll tell you, the words hit different than it normally does. It was hey, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to defend myself.
Mm.
Please give me some time as we do this, as opposed to the unequivocals. She's a liar, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I did think that was interesting, at least from a PR perspective. I thought that was a different way to handle it,
Oh yeah.
and
Hmm.
but also I might not make friends with the both of you here. This is why I fell out of love with the NFL, though, because they do overlook this stuff
Yep.
so
Yep.
often.
Yep.
They
Yes.
they tried to they were fine with covering up the Ray Rice, until it got out.
Hmm.
Joe Mixon got
Hmm.
his chance. Kareem
Hmm.
Hunt. I mean, these things that these guys are doing. I mean, we wouldn't be friends with people who did it. We wouldn't
No.
Right.
want to be coworkers with friends who did this stuff.
Yeah.
So, in the same right, he's going to drop. But for all I know, you pick one team like the Cleveland Browns, who will pay you $250 million after you get accused 48 billion times of doing such a
Yeah.
Hmm.
thing. And if the price is right, they'll give you a chance.
Yeah. And that seems to be an overall theme, and not even just for, you know, this kind of sexual assault or something like this, but just everything. If you can play, they'll look the other way type deal. But one thing, and to your point, Eric, that I think the NFL, and I'm on board with you. One thing I think the
Yeah.
NFL has done a terrible job with is addressing the just large amounts of domestic violence cases and things like that that they just goes overlooked. How they either or they get a slap on the wrist or a simple little fine. You give this guy a $10,000, $25,000 fine when he's making millions of dollars. What is that? That's a drop in the barrel, like it's nothing. So I do think I agree that that needs to be addressed, and it takes individual teams knocking it out and saying we won't do this. I mean, and not to tout Washington, but we had a situation in the beginning of this year with Brandon McManus. We were looking for a kicker. He came in and we liked him, but there was information that came out about some potential allegations of sexual assault. Now he eventually got cleared, but Washington just we ended it right there. We said we're
Yeah.
not dealing with that, and regardless of what comes out, the fact that this was alleged, it's a big deal for us. And it's we talk about culture, bringing in culture. What will we allow to get away with, or what will we address and say we're not bringing this in house? And until each team comes together and does that, and the league kind of does that as a whole, I think we're going to continue to have these issues. So
Hmm.
much to the point that where it's like he did turn himself in, yes, but did he turn himself in because he feels like if I get ahead of this, then maybe they'll look favorably towards me and totally
Like exactly
disregard
what it
what
is.
what I did. Right.
Oh
So,
yeah. Well, he also turned himself in because it's not going to help on draft night when there's video footage of them knocking down his door.
hmm,
So let's not give him
hmm,
too much
yeah.
credit for turning himself in either.
And
Yeah.
that's my point.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all about those optics. Oh man. So yeah, we're gonna get off of that one. We'll see what ends up happening to him. But moving on quickly to another quarterback that is forever in the news, and right now it's not necessarily for the right reasons. I wanted to ask the question: Does Sheduer Sanders hurt his draft stock with some teams? Bleacher Report came out with an article. Apparently, there was rumors that Sheduer Sanders had, bad interviews with some teams. Some teams were offended by some of the things he said, and basically he said when he goes to visit these teams, he tells them exactly who he is and what he's expecting, and kind of looking at what they're expecting from him. And he said some teams they understand that they know kind of the business, the back and forth, and they're okay with it. Other teams kind of standoffish. That it's they're taken aback by that he's not just this rookie saying, "Hey, I'll come in. I want to be a part of your team," but he's actually kind of saying, "I know what I'm looking for. I see what you're looking for. Where do we meet?" So will this hurt his draft stock? I mean, we all know he was supposed to be drafted fairly high. We know his ability, but we also know that his dad has come out a couple times saying, my son's not going to play for a losing team. My son's going to, we want somewhere where he's going to succeed. Eric, I'm going to come to you first. Does this affect it, or is this just a off-season story?
I guess it just depends on who he rubbed the wrong way. If
Yep.
it was
Hmm.
Cleveland, yes. Um, it's really hard to say. He's clearly been a very confident young man, like the entire time we've seen him, which is fantastic. Um, but to your point, I think some of these NFL rooms also want someone to do exactly what you said. Come in. Oh, I'm so thankful. I'll do anything ever for the opportunity. And he might just be like more like, hey, I'm interviewing you too. And
Hmm.
that can rub people the wrong way. But when I do a job interview, I'm interviewing them when they're interviewing me. I want to know if I want to work
Mhm.
for you. Um, so I'd hate to speculate too much because, other than, flashing his watch, I don't really see much of what he has done that has kind of given him this arrogant perception that people have.
Mm,
But that's just from my viewpoint. Um,
mm.
if he drops because of this, then he's going to land with a good team, and things are going to turn out much better for him. So, heck, if that's the plan, show your butt to every team in the top 15.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing, Alex. Like that to me kind of I don't want to say that somebody would do that, but he's in a unique situation. And to Eric's point, if there's a job where I'm going to this job and I know my worth, and I'm going to them, I'm gonna say, okay, yeah, I see what you're offering me. Now let me tell you what I'm bringing to the table, and
Yep.
let's readjust that. Unfortunately, outside of the top 15 to 20 picks, a lot of people don't have that option. They have to kiss the ring, if you will. So when you see something like this, I mean, going along with kind of what we're talking about, not necessarily the assault and all that, but the attitude of certain players. We've seen guys like a Josh Rosen come in the league and say, "I don't need to play in the league. My
Mhm.
family's we're good." And then his play didn't help him, but where is he gone after he was looked at in that draft with what wasn't that the Tua the Lamar who was in
Rosen
that?
was Lamar, Baker, Allen,
Yes.
Darnold.
Yeah. So you look at those four, the other four, and what they've done, even Darnold having the show out year they had last year compared to Rosen. And a lot of what people didn't like was just he rubbed people the wrong way. It's kind
Mhm.
of his bravado in it. Now, Sheduer, I think, is a lot better than Rosen from college play to the league, but still, that attitude, I understand how it would rub people the wrong way, but if you're good, that's what his dad did, you
Yep.
know?
People keep
Exactly.
calling Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Yeah, he's a 41-year-old quarterback that's still getting looked at for teams. So,
Right?
And he's a
I mean, we
deep one.
just talked about it in a different aspect, but if you're a good enough player, they'll push aside differences they have with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, we've all said it here. If I'm going to a situation, interviewing for a job, and I don't like what they're selling me, I'm not going to go there.
Right.
So, in a sense where you don't get a say and they get to pick you, well, if I don't want to go there, I'm going to try and make sure you don't want me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and force your hand to be like, oh, we're not taking this guy. And when you're looking at the teams that need a quarterback still, Giants might be looking, even though they got Russ and Jameis. But then it's the Saints, which that doesn't seem like a very good situation.
Mm-mm. Now,
Um,
I will say, Carr, and shout out to Tina and I. We're doing Let's Talk Football breaking news. We found out that Carr, there's potentially a chance that he'll sit out 2025 with the
it's looking
shoulder
more and
injury.
more likely that he's already done for the year.
And
But
now you got Spencer and Jake behind. I
for
mean,
me, it's if I'm going in there as a quarterback, then this is a team that year after year after year is in salary cap hell and they're having to get
yes,
rid of players. I
yes,
don't want to be locked in for 4 years in a situation where year after year they're going to have to get rid of more and more talent to be under the salary cap. So to me,
right,
if I'm a quarterback, I don't want to go to New Orleans.
yeah,
So then it's where's that next? Try like if I'm Shador, I'm okay with going to Pittsburgh. I'm okay with sliding a little bit and going, say, sit behind Stafford for a year or two and sit in LA. Like there's situations in the 20s there that if you're a quarterback is a great spot to go.
yeah.
I don't want to go to Cleveland. I don't want to go to New Orleans. I don't want to go play for the Giants where your coach and GM are probably fired after a year and then it's nobody has any ties to you that comes in. So I don't have a problem with Shador doing this. It's the Sanders family doing what they do. They rub people the wrong way all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's him trying to have a bit of say in where he goes. I don't hate it.
Right. Right. And look, let's not act like this hasn't happened before. Let's not act like the Jack Elways of the world with with John and the Manning family, who we're kind of comparing these
Mm-hmm.
guys to, that they didn't do this very same thing. And the difference is, and Dion gets bad rap. He came out and said, "We're not going to do this. We know what the trend is. The best quarterback goes to the worst place. We're not going to do this." And I think what I like more about Dion is that we all look at his bravado and love him or hate him. You respect the heck out of him. You respect his
Yeah,
play, and you've seen what
he
he's been
brings
able
it.
to do. Right? He wins wherever he goes. So if he is, and we've seen when he,
He did it himself as a prospect.
well, right, and we've seen like when he has guys like a Travis Hunter, Shador, he builds these guys up. These guys
Mm-hmm.
he coaches them. Yeah, yes, they're good, but he's helping them to be as great as they are and putting them in those situations. So yes, if you want to do that, do that. I mean, you have the talent. He is in that place where he knows he's good enough, so they're going to come to him. And it's almost like a recruiting thing where he's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to sign here. I don't have to come here. You know, what do you want? What are you going to offer me? And a lot of people that rubs them the wrong way, but I look, if you got the ability, if we don't frown on it, if we're talking about a performer who's charging crazy amounts for their tickets, or another kind of entertainer, a sculptor or a painter or something like that that's charging all this stuff, why are we going to do it here? This is also an art, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's that good. He's worked his way up. Let's go.
Well, I understand the thought process of you should just be happy you made it to the league. Yes, that's absolutely 100%. You made it to the league, fine. But where you get drafted can make or break your entire career right
Yes.
before it even starts.
Right.
So, like, we've seen so many talented players drafted to Cleveland or the Raiders or the Lions for a very long time, and it
Mm-hmm.
destroys their career because they ended up in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
So, for a player to be looking out for himself and be like, I'm going to try and put myself in a good situation, why are people hating on it? I don't,
Yeah.
it doesn't make
And,
sense to me.
and kind of going to marry 2 points that Sean made. So let's give him the fact that he does have the Josh Rosen effect, where he doesn't need to go to the NFL. He will not
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
suffer if he doesn't go to the NFL
True.
in his lifetime.
Yeah.
And we'll marry that with the fact that we know that he is a top talent. So if this was my boy Riley Leonard, then he should be shining the shoes of
Yeah.
those
Hmm.
GMs
Hmm.
when he's
Hmm.
in there. But he knows someone's taking him.
Yeah.
That he's not going through 7 rounds undrafted. He knows that, and he
He
knows
will
that.
be picked on Thursday.
I
That's
agree.
going to, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you just set the bottom line is he knows he's getting picked no matter what, and
Yeah.
he knows he doesn't have to probably work another day of his life if he didn't want
Mm.
to. Not that his dad would be okay with that,
Yeah.
but
Dion would probably
um,
bring him on as a coach.
yeah,
Right. He
exactly.
would help him out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that he's in a different spot than anybody else. So we can't treat everybody exactly the same. We should treat everybody fairly, but we
Yeah.
can't treat everybody equally.
Yeah.
And look, you don't have to go far to talk about the comparison of how you treat somebody, because Shiloh Sanders ain't gonna be able to go into these rooms and say that type of
Exactly.
stuff. Shiloh's saying, "Hey, please, I'll play nickel, I'll play slot, I'll play special teams, whatever you need," because Shiloh is not Shador.
Yep.
Yeah.
you know. So we'll definitely see with that. And like you said, I think that's a great point. He's going to get drafted. He knows he's going to get drafted, and he knows he doesn't need necessarily to go because he will be taken care of. But we know his skill. We'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. But look, going from one quarterback that is looking to go to a team to another quarterback that's been dismissed from his team. Alex, I'm going to come to you first. My question when I first put this in was, is Nico Iamaleava done at Tennessee? But since we prepared and set this show up, Alex, there's been some breaking news. Coach Heupel spoke to the team today. What do you say?
Yeah, he got the team together before their spring game today and uh, told them that Nico's no longer a part of the team. That they've parted ways. They've sent him packing, and uh, they're going a different direction at quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the starting spot. everything's up for grabs. It's a big day for the quarterbacks today, all of a sudden. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then with that transfer portal opening next week, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with Nico here. But he's not going to be wearing that orange in Tennessee anymore.
No, no, no. He will no longer be at Knoxville, Tennessee. And I mean, there's a number of questions that comes from this. First, we'll go into the reason why. And it apparently was NIL compensation. He's getting about $2 million in the NIL, and him and his representatives wanted to see if they could potentially double that into 4 million because there's going to be new revenue sharing that the teams will be getting. So he wanted to get a piece of that. Now, Eric, I'm going to come to you, and before we even ask, was he worth that? 63, almost 64% completion percentage, 2,600 yards passing. He went 19 and 5, touchdown to interceptions. I think added like a couple hundred yards on the ground. They were 10 and 2. Um, Obviously, we saw they got blown out by the eventual champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Is it warranted? Does he have a point? I want more money. We went 10 and 2. Or I've also heard that Heupel he's done this with any quarterback. He had Hendon Hooker, he had Joe Milton. Both of them looked decent, or at least had the ability to play that offense. So is it just plug and play? Like, what do you thoughts about it?
Yeah, there's a whole different array of thoughts. I think 100 other teams or schools should be lining up and seeing if they can get their credit scores up
Mm,
so that they can go attract him. But I do not think Tennessee should negotiate at all with him.
mm,
They made a contract. He agreed to come to the school under certain terms, and this just isn't the way to go about it. I mean, you're putting your every teammate you have at a disadvantage when you're not out there practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, this does happen in the NFL, but other quarterbacks are making decisions on what they're going to do. Are they going to transfer because of what he's doing?
mm-hmm,
Um, if we're going to call it NIL, I mean, I wish we'd really change the name of it because this is pay for play. This isn't NIL.
mm,
Um, if he wants more NIL money, call Verizon, call Gatorade, get
mm-hmm,
your NIL money because that's what that is.
Yeah,
Um, what this is holding your team hostage for a better payday. If that's going to happen, then it should all happen very quietly. Now, maybe Tennessee rebuked it over and over and over, for all we know. But in the
sounds like
same
it.
right, yeah, in the same right, from his standpoint, you are 9 months away from the draft, essentially.
mm-hmm.
Like, I can't imagine that he was planning on staying for another year, just based
Okay.
on how he committed. He was taking private planes when he was a recruit to
Mm,
the different recruiting visits he went to. He was on our
mm-hmm,
radar for a little time, and his demeanor and his family's outlook um, had us cut him out of us trying to compete for him. So, just with a little background on that, I don't think this is like a new thing. I think he was
mm-hmm.
doing this as a senior out of high school, and him being
Well,
he and his family. So, all right, so now he has to go learn a new system. He has to go to a school where he might be going to a worse school for a better payday, and he's
mm,
hurting his stock. He was going to look good under Heupel next year.
Yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so there's just a lot of bad looks. But at the end of the day, Tennessee can't negotiate here because that's telling 105 other guys, all right, we're open for business when you don't like what you're getting tomorrow. And
Right.
that's just bad for culture.
yeah,
So,
It
but
is.
there's going to be a school who's going to get a good quarterback.
Yeah, it is bad for culture. It is bad. And to your point, Eric, you're talking about, he was taking jets, and we know this guy's a 5-star recruit, 6'6", so he's got that prototypical build. But Alex, I mean, you were mentioning that, wasn't it Coach Lanning that called Coach Heupel and said, "Hey, this guy's shopping. He's looking for money elsewhere." Like, he's taking advantage of this pay for play and taking advantage of the stuff, but I think Eric's got a point. I think it's going to be to his detriment. I mean,
yeah,
because you're going to have to now go, like he said, learn a whole new system and all that, and hope that you have the same type of success. We've seen how many times that has not worked over the
Yep.
years. So what does this mean for him going forward? Where could he go?
I mean, there were a couple really good spots brought up in our group chat earlier. Eric said USC. I think that's a really good spot. I think you got to go to a spot with a quarterback whisperer per se at coach. I
Mm-hmm.
think you've got to go somewhere that they've got a history developing quarterbacks. Lincoln Riley obviously has that, and he's from Southern California, so I think that's a really good fit there. The one thing I'd be worried about though, if I'm teams trying to get him, obviously this situation that just happened, where he didn't like the money he was getting, so he sat out of practice yesterday. He just
Mm.
didn't show up. No
Yeah.
meetings, no practice, no nothing. And so good on Heupel for standing his ground and booting him because of it.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing is the on-field play. While the numbers look good and there were a lot of moments where he was great, every time there was a big game, he crumbled. He looked
Yes.
awful against Ohio State. He did not look good
Yes.
against Alabama. He does not look good against Georgia. Every year when he's playing the top tier teams, he crumbles. So I'd be a little worried if I was a team, say, that's gunning for a championship this year. I'm probably not looking for him at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And you talk about character. He has ability, but even to your point, they went 10-2, but he had what 2,600 yards. And
Yeah,
normally, if a guy has
19
2,500,
touchdowns. Like,
right? You know what I mean? Normally, he has then maybe 800 yards rushing, or there's a reason that he's compensating for not throwing as much. But he didn't even have that.
yeah.
And I think Eric and either of you guys can answer, but I'll come to you first, Eric. I think you alluded to it. Does this address a bigger issue? We talked about it last week, and that's Nathan. Shout out to Nathan saying this is exactly why NIL needs reforming. You called it pay for play, and now these guys are essentially now clients that are saying, "Hey, I don't want to go here. Maybe I want to go there. Maybe I'll see." Well, how do we get a handle on this? This now money's flying all over the place, and guys feel entitled to go X, Y, and Z other places.
Yeah, that's a great question. The problem is that there's always going to be someone who won't get in line, and I don't mean by the players.
Yeah.
So let's look at the NFL for example. I think about this pretty often. We've got 32 teams. We're really limited on how many quarterbacks we've got.
Mm-hmm.
They're making 50, 60 million dollars a year, right? And that's because no owner is willing to say, no, I'm not going to pay Sam Darnold, you know, what Sam Darnold is probably actually worth
Mm-hmm.
because I have to have a chance to have the guy. Now, if all 32 teams could get together and go, this is getting outlandish,
Mm-hmm.
we should be in a certain range for quarterbacks, but there's always going to be one person or one team that pushes the envelope a little further. And
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to do it, that means the next person has to do it.
Yep.
So I really don't know if there's a way to get the toothpaste back in because we're talking 50 different states, we're talking state laws,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're talking unionization. Um, I mean, this is now, and we've already set the precedent at this point. When they went into doing this without any real guidance, that's when this became, you know, unfixable to some degree. So rather than go back and change things, I think you have to embrace it and figure out how to navigate um, the current waters. And I'll be honest, I am not that smart um, because this is a very, very complicated issue.
Oh yeah. Oh, I echo your sentiments 100%. And it's almost like they had the dam set, they let the dam out, and now they're sitting here trying to close this thing back up. But you can't. Once
Mm-hmm.
that's flowing, you can't shut it down. So this is going to probably get worse before it gets better as we see the money is flowing. And look, we all like to jump on the players for doing it, but they're just taking a page from what the coaches are
Yep.
doing. How many times did a coach come into somebody's house, somebody's living room, and say, "Oh yeah, he's going to be here, and I promise I'm going to be here with him for 4 years," and then 8 months later, they're getting a contract going somewhere else because of how much success they had. So while we want to
Mhm.
jump on the players for this, I think we also need to address the coaches and look, somebody that has far more intelligence than we do could potentially work this thing out and figure it out. But to your point, Eric, some teams don't necessarily want it to be figured out. Some teams they
Oh,
want to pay their money to get their guy. They want to sit here and say, "Oh, that's how much you want to come play. Oh yeah, come on over here. We'll do that." And they don't
well,
care about any of the extra
yeah.
stuff. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I mean, people talk about salary caps. They were paying players before
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
NIL.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the salary cap going to stop the alumni car dealer from still giving envelope full of cash to, the player for
And
Alabama versus if Memphis actually gets to use their $25 million salary cap, they're still not
Mm,
competing with Alabama.
right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just wild, man.
and
Mm-hmm.
where's that salary cap going to come from for some of these smaller schools? Because
State
you
schools.
can't make it even, right? And if you make it even to where the big schools have to use less, then kind of like what Eric was saying, what's stopping these guys from still gifting cars and houses and all this other stuff on the side? And we can only give you so much money out in the open, but all this other stuff's going to come to you under the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's all that stuff going on, and then as far as like how to regulate it, I could be wrong about this, but I think when the Big Ten and SEC were talking about doing that essentially like super conference or super league kind of thing, there was talks of setting the revenue sharing and actually doing kind of like a cap in how much you can spend, and I believe there were talks into that. So um,
But isn't that a different thing than name, image, and likeness?
they were essentially going to do away with name, image, and likeness and just make it like a
But
freaking.
but you can't do away with that.
If they go do their
So,
own separate thing from the NCAA, though, they can.
but they still can't because you're an employee at this point. So you're telling me that I can't now go. So I go to Oregon. You give me $5 million of the $25 million cap,
Yeah.
and then Phil Knight pays me $5 million to be in a Nike commercial. That's not part of the
So,
salary cap.
one, I when I said do away with name, image, and likeness, it's essentially like what the NFL, NBA, and all that do, where you still can have all your endorsements and stuff on the side. So,
I
name, image, and
agree, but I'm saying that the that negates the point of the salary cap to begin with.
agreed,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, and that's where there's never going to be a concrete like great solution to this, because there's always going to be there's insanely smart people for all these teams that are like, well, it within this rule there's this loophole here. Look at what Stallions did for Michigan, where there was nothing concrete in the rule about the stuff he was doing, but he found any little loophole or gray area he could and stretched as far as he could. There's
Mm-hmm.
people like that at every school. It might not be with the advanced scouting. It might be with recruiting. It might be with stretching name, image, and likeness. It might be with, like Oregon this year, where they did the 12 people on the field. So Ohio State burned the clock, but only gained
Yeah.
5 yards on the play or whatever. There's people at all these teams finding any little loophole they can. So, and that's
Oh yeah.
always going to be a thing.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. And
Yep.
yeah, man, the one thing you could do is reduce roster size. But then now we're talking about taking scholarships away from kids.
Mm,
So, I mean, that's what made college football great to begin with. So,
Mm-hmm.
right. And look, yeah, like they both alluded to, like I would put a bow on it, that these type of things are going to happen because, like Handy said, these boosters they want to win. These coaches they want to win.
Yeah.
Us as fans want our teams to win. And when you have that demand, and then you look over at Ohio State, who spent $20 million on X, Y, and Z, You look at the Georgias and all these teams spending big money on their guys, and you say, if we do like they do, then that's what we're going to do. Which means you got to bring in a coach and pay him some money. Which means you got to bring in top recruits
Mm-hmm.
and pay them. And then even at that point, you still might not win it all. And
Like,
that's
we
the
just
crazy
spent
thing.
$12 million over the next 4 years on a quarterback that hasn't played a snap yet. So,
Right, right.
like,
So we're gonna see this NIL and pay for play and all of this is gonna be conversations that will not die anytime soon. Um, Handy said NIL is also killing the walk on
oh, it's
program
done
as
away with.
well.
Eliminated. Yeah, just
Yeah.
straight up eliminated it. It's gone.
Yeah, but here's the issue: some of the validation data isn't accessible. So to that, I think that's more towards your point, Alex, is that there's a lot of things that we're not seeing. Or Eric, both of you guys made the point on it, like that we're not seeing. We might see this NIL that they get, or this sponsor they get, or whatever, but then we're not seeing. Joe Blow over here saying, "Hey, you get a couple touchdowns this week. Let me go ahead and take you out. Let me pay your house or your rent. Let me get you take you to that car dealership. Let me
Which is
this
the
stuff.
exact same stuff that was always happening.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it's
yeah.
still
Oh yeah.
happening on the side. Like,
And this
Oh yeah.
and this can happen in the NFL too, but that's not a problem because you don't, at least initially, get to pick where you go in the NFL.
mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's not a bidding
So
war right off the bat. It's
yeah.
draft process.
yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. All right, we are going to go to a quick break, and then we are going to get into talking about the spring games. Ooh, excited about that. Come on, football in April. Let's go. We'll be right back. Yeah, buddy. That was my guy, Anton Benton of Awesome Artisans. Definitely check him out. He lives in the Virginia Beach area, travels up and down the East Coast and also to the Midwest. Hey, anything you need fixed, he's a handyman. He can take care of it inside the house, outside the house, around the house, whatever you need. He can take care of it. And if he's not able to, he'll put you in touch with somebody who can. Yo, this is Let's Talk College Football. You see who I'm with, my buddy Alex Loose Moore, and this guy sitting in front of Touchdown Jesus, EK Holiday. Yeah, buddy. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what's today, you might ask? Spring games of the day, baby. That's right. For those of us that are missing football since it ended in January, and those of us who are so desperate to have it back when it starts back in August, this is that reprieve right in the middle, that little something. Man, the month of April is a good one. And there are several teams that will be having their spring game today. Unfortunately, North Carolina will not be doing a spring game. We have a little event. We bring people in, do a little something for the fans and whatnot. But with Bill there, everything is very close to the vest. We know how he operates. But I'm going to go to you guys. I know, Alex, yours is next week, I believe.
Next Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, next Saturday. EK, you guys play later today, right?
That's right. We got 57 minutes. Let's
Oh,
go.
come on. Yo, so
Is your
I'm
guys'
going to hit
televised?
What was that?
Is your guys' televised?
Peacock. So
Okay.
they take $5 from me to make me watch.
I'll see if I can find it up here. We don't have Peacock in Canada, so I'll see if there's something else that's on.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. That's right. The Big Ten Network is on Peacock. Hey, EK, I'm gonna come to you first because your game does start today. We have our spring game, so I definitely want to know what you're looking into. But there's also some QB situations in each of our three schools. Who? How is that shaping up for you guys in South Bend?
Well, this is kind of fun, and it'll be a fun conversation from the standpoint of we've got 3 legitimate battles going on here, and then we've got Georgia, Alabama also having quarterback battles, Oregon too. All that to say that if Tennessee is shopping for a quarterback, they might be on the market after the next week. Um,
Mhm.
so I will tell you this. Let me start with this. I had a mild heart attack this morning. I woke up and I put ESPN.com. I went there and I saw reports cars 25 status at risk due to shoulder.
Hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
I'm in my own world, so of course I didn't think it had David Carr or Derek Carr,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a panic immediately when I saw that report. Fortunately, it doesn't relate to us. Um, Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a three-way quarterback race at the moment. We've got a veteran who's been around a little while, who maybe isn't as gifted, but he's been in the system in Steve Angeli, and then we've got Kenny Menchie, who has been here for 2 years now. Live arm, very mobile, so a lot of skill. And then we've got the you know the hope that we've all been praying for since Jimmy Clausen and Brady Quinn left, and that is
Yeah.
C.J. Carr, the grandson of Michigan man
You just
Lloyd
had to
Carr,
bring that up.
son of the former Michigan quarterback as well. So all that to say, he comes from a great pedigree. Um, So CJ, he is most accurate passer among them. He seems to, and this is all, of course, feedback from reading as many outlets as I can. He reads through his progressions better than the others. He is more athletic than Steve Angeli. He seems to be more consistent than the other quarterbacks in practices, which is a good indicator. Menchie is a bit more home run strikeout. So when he does something, it really makes the jaws drop. But when he does something else, it makes all the heads shake. So we've got that going. And then Angeli, every time he's been put in a game, he's been pretty decent. I mean, we haven't really asked him to do much. Um, the running game and the defense has taken care of it, but he's been able to complement it. So the bad news for me is I think we might have one starting offensive lineman like playing today. So I don't think we're really going to learn too much about
Yeah.
starter is going to be, but it will be fun to see how the ball comes off when they throw it.
Mhm.
Um, just to see if anybody does go through progressions to see how athletic they might be. Um, so it's going to be fun. It's the first time we've had a quarterback battle since Buckner and Pine. So it's going to be fun. That's all I got for you, Sean. I wish I knew I was going to be able to declare a victor today, but I've honestly got no idea. So we're going to be watching the defense, watch the running backs, how they do when they get tackled 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage because there's no line. So hopefully they fight really hard. Um, but it should be fun, and it's going to be good to see who trots out with who in the secondary and on the defensive line and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I will definitely be tuned in. I do have Peacock. If I can give you my password, I'd send that up to you, Alex, so you can watch as well. Yeah, I'll definitely be tuned in. Alex, Michigan, you guys play next week. What's your thoughts? I know you got a conversation in house.
Yeah, so originally it looked like it was just going to be a two-way quarterback battle between Mikey Keene, the Fresno State transfer, and Bryce
Mm,
Underwood, obviously the number one recruit in this year's class. But Keene got injured early on. So he's been out pretty much the entirety of spring camp. Sounds like it's
yeah.
going to leak into training camp as well. I don't know what the actual injury is,
Well,
but all I've seen is he's battling an injury probably into the start of training camp as well. But Jaden Davis, last year's 4/5-star recruit, depending on where you looked, he's looked awesome too. And Underwood and Davis have gone step for step, throw for throw, stride for stride.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because Underwood's been everything he was promoted to be. The progressions, the athleticism, he throws one of the nicest balls I've ever seen for an 18-year-old kid. It's so smooth, quick release, accurate. He's been as advertised, but Jaden Davis has gone par for par with him. Like it's been so much fun to watch every little clip I've seen, and I can't wait. So it sucks because with the game being next weekend, they've delayed it being broadcasted on the Big Ten Network till the following weekend. It doesn't come out till after the portal.
Oh, come on.
So I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it next weekend. It'll be the weekend after. But I can't wait to see those two go at it. You'd have to imagine Bryce gets the job, but it's very promising to see Davis going for it and playing as well as he is. And I hope they can just keep the idea of the competition going into fall camp so he's still a Wolverine come August.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's been very fun to watch.
Do they have any bona fide security blankets? So with like Loveland gone, is there a receiver that you're like, oh yeah, this is the dude?
So
is there a tight end who they can feel comfortable with?
Marlon Klein was the backup tight end behind Loveland. Got quite a bit of playing time the last few years when we've done the double tight ends. He's a trusted receiver. And then it's the two main guys from last year, which I don't know if they just had a bad year or if it was the atrocious quarterback play, but Samaj Morgan and Tyler Morris. And then we got Donovan McCulley from Indiana. So we've got a decent set of weapons there. And then the running backs are going to be really good again this year. Jordan Marshall, who went off in the bowl game against Alabama, and then the Alabama transfer Justice Haynes have both looked phenomenal in camp as well. The offensive line looks better than last year, still not what it was the few years before. So the offense looks extremely promising this year. New offensive coordinator. Thank you, by the way, Sean Chip Lindsay, although he left you guys before that. But he's looking – the offense is looking real good with him calling the plays and bringing in his style. So – Michigan offensive football should actually be fun to watch again.
Can you pass this year? Will you be able to get the forward pass going?
We better be able to pass this year. I'm telling you how much.
Oh man,
we shouldn't be in with like Army, Navy, and all that in terms of passing offense this year.
I remember what game was it? With the USC game, I was like, "Are these guys going to beat them just running the triple option like that?" QB left, QB right.
What was it? It took till the Northwestern game, the second last regular season game of the year, to have a 40-yard pass.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
Yeah, I felt for you last year. Not that much because you were the defending champs, but I still.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had our run, but.
Oh man, yeah, I'm eager to see definitely both games. Hey, as you know, North Carolina will not be doing the spring game today, but I'm still trying to keep an eye on certain things. Right now, we got 4 guys in house. We lost Connor Harrell and Jacoby Criswell to the transfer portal, and we are bringing back Max Johnson, who started for us last year, but then went out in Minnesota game because he broke his femur. So and for those of you who don't know, he's the son of Brad Johnson, former Redskin before we were Commanders. So it was definitely good seeing that. He's got the most experience playing 2 years at LSU and then 2 years at A&M. So I'm gonna go ahead and say he's probably the default. He's gonna be the guy that is gonna start because he's the oldest guy that we have. We also have Ryan Brown, 6'4", 213. He was a 3-star. Ended up going to Purdue. Played a couple games there. I think he got in and started like 2 games. Had a decent performance or whatever. But we know how their season went last year. So he's also got some experience. Very very mobile. doesn't really jump off the page, but a lot has to do with the health of Mac Johnson and will Ryan Brown be able to come in and take some snaps. But he doesn't. He's not somebody that you get excited about. Not like these other two guys. Now you got Bryce Baker, who Eric you were talking about, and then you have Atori Newkirk. Baker's true freshman, amazing arm talent, ball placements on point. Obviously, he's got that athleticism. He's a lefty. I'm always been a fan of righties, but him and as a matter of fact, him and Max Johnson are lefties, uh, and he both
Hmm.
4 stars. The guy has ability, and he seems to be the one that a lot of people are really excited about. I mean, great athleticism, just the ability to kind of play all over the field and stuff like. I'm interested in that, but I'm also interested in this other guy that we just picked up, Atori Newkirk. Guy's 18 years old, 4 star, 6'3", 200 pounds. The guy we know to back Tidewater Player of the Year. In fact, a lot of people are calling him Baby Vic, Little Vic, or something like that because he came from the same area that Michael Vick came from. Completed 77% of his passes, threw for almost 9,000 total yards, over 600 yards in his last year at in high school. The guy has the ability. He has that pop. He's that home run threat, but he's fresh. He's new. He's really green. So you really want to see kind of how he's able to kind of work in Belichick's system. If you were to ask me right now, since we don't have an official spring game, if you were to ask me who I thought would be the starter, I think a lot of it is based on the health of Max Johnson. He's by far the most experienced. He's played big name football at LSU. He played a couple games at Texas A&M. We've seen what he's able to do over there, even though they didn't really he didn't pan out over there. We've seen that he's been in those type of atmospheres, so I'm excited to see if he can do that. Um, but for me, I think it really I I'm like these other guys. We've seen guys that have seen the Drakes and the Sam Howells, and they were so great in college. I mean, Sam Howell set the record in 3 years for most passing yards, I believe, in school history with over 10,000. Drake May, we saw how good he was, ACC Player of the Year, and then ended up getting picked third overall. And the Bryce Baker is supposed to be the next one. Atari Newkirk is supposed to be one of these guys that's going to jump off the page. So it's exciting to kind of see what those guys are and can they pop, can they shine? But at the end of the day, Bill likes his guys. He likes guys that are professional. He likes guys that can play. And what better? I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking Bill's. He knows Brad. Brad Johnson's a former NFL quarterback, so he knows what the pedigree is, and he knows kind of maybe that comfort level, the experience. If Max Johnson is healthy, I think that's the direction that they'll go. But it's gonna be interesting in house because from playing NCAA 25 and I just picking up a 5 star quarterback. I know that I have some experienced guys on the roster, but that 5 star, he's nipping at the heels, like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, let me play. I may or may not have started him last week, but that's neither here nor there. But for me, I would love to see one of these young guys get up there and get a start. But kind of being sentimental, I do want Max to have his time because he is the most experienced. But he also, he went out early last year with the broken, femur. Let's give him that opportunity to have a good year. And I think under Bill, I think that could be a match. I'm still kind of green on the whole QB competition, and I'm definitely looking into more about each of these guys. But they each have something that's positive. But if you want me to rate them, it'd be Max just because of experience, and then I'd go Baker, Atari Newkirk, and then Ryan Brown from Purdue. So that's kind of where we're at.
That's interesting. So you're the only one who kind of hit on that. So I'm going to pose the question to the three of us, a two-part question.
Hmm.
Obviously, we all want the best quarterback to have the job, whoever it is.
Hmm.
As fans, as good fans, I know we all feel that we trust our coaches. But
Hmm.
who do you think is going to win the job? Number one. Why? Who do you want to win the job?
Ooh.
and why.
Oh,
I stole Sean's job for a second. Sean, I'm gonna
I knew you
send it
had it
back
in
to
you.
you.
I
I'm gonna
love
send
it.
it back to you since it's fresh on the North Carolina talk.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Look, I think if you want my honest opinion, and again, a lot of this has to do with the health and can Max Johnson come back healthy? If he is healthy and 100% start coming into fall camp and coming into the season, I think that's where you go. I think he has the experience, he has the ability to play, and especially if he gets back to 100%, he can run the offense. Now, it would be eager to see kind of what offense Bill implements and if it's different from Mac Brown's and kind of what how we go from there. But that's where I think they're going to go. For me, it's a toss up between Bryce Baker and Atori Newkirk. And the reason being, both of them were good in high school. We know both of them were highly touted coming out of high school. And I kind of think when you were, 2 years removed from Drake, we're losing Amarion Hampton, who's a stud in the backfield. Obviously, a number of wide receivers have gone on to the pros. We're going to need something that's going to pop. And I think it kind of I don't think we've had this kind of demise like Florida, but I think our QB situation could be similar where you have a Mertz like Max Johnson, who's the older guy who could play, but you know what you're getting with him. I
Yeah.
want to see what the lagway of for North Carolina is, be it Newkirk, be
Hmm.
it Baker. Can they come in and really add that excitement to the team? And then, I mean, we talked about being 12th overall in the transfer portal and bringing all these new guys in house. If you get good quarterback play and a guy that's going to be there for 3-4 years, well, that's not a given anymore. But a guy that's going to be there this year, and if he plays well, maybe that'll help bring in other people. So yeah, who I want is one of the freshmen. Most likely, probably Baker, but Newkirk is interesting. But what I think is going to happen, Max Johnson,
All right, so it'd be ideal for Max to come in, and then one of those guys to kind of start easing their way in.
just show
I
up. Oh
got
yeah,
you. I
oh
got
yeah.
you.
Hmm.
What about you, Alex?
Mine's pretty straightforward. I think it's going to be Bryce. He paid him all that money, got him to leave LSU, come way closer to home, Ann Arbor, um, and he seems like the best quarterback for the spot, and it's who I want. There's been all the hype around him. I've seen the little clips they've shown and all that, and it's getting me excited to watch him on Saturday. So I don't want to wait. I want him to be the guy right off the bat, but I want him to earn it as well. I don't want it
Yeah,
to just be handed to him. Uh, I'd be okay with them if everyone's healthy coming into fall camp saying Keen's the guy. It's his job to lose off the bat and make Bryce win the job. Um, but in the end, I think it's going to be Bryce, and that's who I want.
yeah. Well, I think who is pretty clear for me as well. So I think it's pretty interesting that everybody wants. We're all looking at the big potential, and
Yeah.
that's what we want. Even though I think Kenny has that high upside. I've been waiting for us to be able to at least get the ball in the air a little bit, probably since Deshaun Kaiser.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, because
so
Hartman did it a little bit, but not.
yeah, I mean Book was a solid quarterback, but he was more of a run threat and a one
Hmm.
read kind of guy.
Mhm.
Um, so I honestly don't know who will, but part of the reason I want Carr too is because I really have that optimism about him, but also because of in this transfer portal world, I don't want to lose him. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yes.
will we be able to keep him on the bench for 2 years? And if he loses to Angeli still has 2, possibly 3 years left. Menchie has 4 possible years left of eligibility. So, if there's an outright winner, that lane closes. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
so man,
It's kind
there's
of
a
like
lot of
Alex was saying with that QB competition. As long as they
Yeah. I don't want
compete
to
or at
lose
least have
David.
the illusion of the competition, they might stay put.
yeah, yeah. It's fascinating, man. So I'm actually a little nervous now because
Hmm.
thinking about how I want CJ to show out.
Hmm.
That's it. That's the whole reason. And look, we talked about this all day. I mean, the Nico situation. And now these guys are winning. I don't know that any of us are in a situation. Maybe you, Alex, with a quarterback that might say, "Oh, you said you're giving me this much, and I'm not getting it, so I might leave." But we might not be in that type of situation, but still, you have to think about it almost like you're saying, Eric, play defense and say, all right, I'm going to keep my cards close to my vest. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, and I'm not going to tell my guys what I'm doing because then they might get big head. Oh, I got to go somewhere else. I want to start right away, X, Y, and
Mm-hmm.
Z.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely. None of these three that we're talking about, none of them are going to declare a quarterback
No.
until the
Mm-mm.
summer. I mean fall camp, but
Right.
during the summer.
Yeah.
For that same reason, because I want to keep you here. Hopefully, you'll stick around for the season rather than transfer after I name you my number 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I will say one of us has a 6-time Super Bowl winning champion as a head coach. So
We ain't
might want to
playing for
stay.
Super Bowls though.
Very good point. Yes, very good point. All right.
Yeah, he has a national championship winning coach, and I have one who's been in a national championship. So I mean,
I got an NFL coach. Tag on it. Well, we
I have a
came up
national
with
championship winning
the
offensive coordinator, but
I was Alex. I was trying to be generous, man.
I mean,
after talking
you
about
were right.
Qatar.
You didn't say head coach. You said coach, so you weren't
Um,
wrong. But
Oh man, ladies and gentlemen, man, we got to get on out of here. The spring games are starting up. Some of them have started. Some of them have already been played. Some will be playing a little bit later. Eric, I know you told us what time is your game?
top
my
of the
game
Again
hour,
out?
is
right?
35 minutes, man,
Oh yeah, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock
and
Eastern.
it will not be game format, so that'll be
Yeah.
kind of cool too. I think they're gonna. It's just gonna be like good going on good,
Okay. Okay.
but not in
Cool.
the typical game format.
Yeah, like situational scrimmage kind of thing, and
I like
Yep,
that.
yeah,
exactly. And
As
there's
long as it's not,
yeah,
as
you
long as
can't
it's
have two
not Ohio
teams who
State
only got
doing.
9 linemen.
yeah,
Well, right. Oh
Yeah,
well, yeah. As long as it's not Ohio State flag football, I'm good to go with that.
yeah. I
is that
agree.
is
Keep
that
it
really what they're doing?
By the sounds of it,
apparently.
yeah,
Oh, I hate him so much.
charging people to watch flag football.
I hate Ryan
Ryan
Day.
Day, hey.
Yeah,
Even the worst win sometimes.
yeah.
Okay,
Ugh.
Might
not
take
Duke.
20 million
They
to
didn't
do
win
it,
shit.
but sometimes it happens.
Exactly. And they have not been quiet about it. Look,
They still couldn't beat us.
wait, how many days? How many days?
1960.
Let's go. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head out of here. This has been Let's Talk College Football. That's my guy, Mr. Mays in Blue, Alex Loosemore, and you see him down there in front of Touchdown Jesus, E.K. Holiday. And we want to shout out our guy, South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer, who I don't think he has a quarterback composition
No.
because
Mm-mm.
Zanoris is there. Yeah, so
Yeah, Lenore Sellers there. He's the guy.
yeah, he'll be fine.
And
So
rightfully so.
yeah, we didn't need him in this conversation. So
Well, we needed
yeah.
we needed the Will Kramer opinion on Nico, so
Oh yes,
that better come
yes.
out at some point
Yeah.
because I feel like he's going to have a strong take, and I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I might have him just come here and do a clip by himself where he's just talking about it because I know he's going to have some things to say. Oh,
Yeah.
man. So, look, stay tuned. We definitely will be coming back with you this week. Maybe college football update. I'll get with these guys and talk to them on Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday, Restoring the Roar. It's back.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Loved how you did that last week. I loved how you did, talked about the draft, but then also talked about who the all-time player, your favorite or all-time great players for
Hmm.
Detroit. That was dope. I love that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So glad to see you back. And there's also another show coming up based out of South Bend talking about Notre Dame coming into the season, hosted by Eric Kelly, maybe co-hosted by myself. I don't know. It's
Love it.
coming, and I'm letting you know. I'm excited about it. Let's go.
Love it.
Let's go. So, for our guys, my guy Alex Moosmore, EK Holiday, our guy Will Kramer, it's your boy Sean Spencer. This has been Let's Talk College Football, and we will see y'all on the flip side. I hope y'all are doing well. Wait a minute, I just read that. The original. Eric Kramer. Eric Kramer. Remember the name. Or Rodney Pete. Oh, he was my guy too. Look, we got to get out of here. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace, people. Oh, actually, because it is North Carolina Day.
Let's go! Tar Heels! You already know what it is.